Cheers with Paper Tray Ink's Make It Monday, and today I'm using this beautiful photo as my inspiration piece, and I want to show you how you can take a photo, pull some inspiration out of it, pull some colors, and make your own stamped pattern papers, and then I'll show you how to effectively mix and match these pattern papers to on a card. So really quick, I'll show you some of the patterns that I created with colors that I pulled out of the inspiration photo. When you're building your patterns, you want to build a large scale pattern, some medium scale patterns, and some small scale patterns. And you can see that the floral that I created first had all the colors from the inspiration photo, and then I pulled individual colors out of that paper to build my other papers. So let's start with the first pattern paper, the large floral. And from the inspiration photo, I really wanted to work with the pinks and the oranges and the greens and the grays. So I'm starting with a stamp set called Cutting Garden, and I'm going to use Raspberry Fizz and Hibiscus Burst on the large flower. I'm dipping the stamp in Hibiscus Burst first and then Raspberry Fizz on just the bottom portion of the flower to create this kind of ombre look to the flower. Then I'm going to do the same thing with Summer Sunrise ink and Orange Zest. And this is going to be my largest scale pattern paper. The flowers are larger than the polka dots and the other patterns that I created. So here I dipped it in Summer Sunrise and then Orange Zest on the bottom. Then I'm going to take the stem from Cutting Garden, stem and the leaves, and New Leaf ink, and I'm going to use some washi tape just to cover the stem. I don't really want the stem, I just want the leaves poking out from behind the flowers. So I'm going to tape off the stem, dip it in the ink, and then I'll remove the tape and stamp it onto my pattern paper. This is just an easy little way to mask off portions of a stamp that you don't want to stamp. Then I'm going to use the little bud from Cutting Garden, and I'm going to stamp it in Harvest Gold ink, and then I have a medium gray ink from another company that I like to use. Here's the gray. I love gray. It's a neutral that really brings the colors out. So then you'll just continue stamping until you have your finished large scale pattern paper. Isn't that pretty? So here are the patterns all together again. Just to take another look, we have the large scale floral. You can see the medium scale is probably the pink, the sweet blush paper with the Raspberry Fizz dots on it. That is like a medium. It's a little bit smaller than the flowers. And then the plaid is more of a small scale pattern because it reads more as a solid. So let's go ahead and do the medium scale. I have a sweet blush paper, and I have a medium polka dot from the Polka Dot Basics No. 3 stamp set. And I just trimmed one of the dots off of the stamp because I just want a single dot. It comes as a row of dots. So I'm using, you can use Raspberry Fizz ink or Hibiscus Burst, whichever one you prefer. And I'm just stamping the dots randomly. I don't really try to get them perfect, although I do try to space them out somewhat evenly. And it's always good to have the pattern going off the edge of the paper also. So there is that pattern paper. And next I'll show you how to do the orange plaid. This one is made with the little stripe here from Note Niblets. And I'm using Summer Sunrise ink and Orange Zest. And since this is a shorter stamp, you'll notice that I've only been able to create a strip of paper with it. But that's okay, we'll be able to use this strip on our designs, and I'll show you how to do that. So I'm just going to stamp this at an angle. And try to space them out evenly, although it was really hard to do with the camera in my way. Then you'll just continue stamping all the way down the card. And next you'll take the lighter color, the Summer Sunrise, and you'll stamp perpendicular to the other stripe. And that creates this pretty little plaid. Next I'm going to do a gray polka dot with a smaller polka dot. And again, this is from Polka Dot Basics number 3. And I just trimmed out a dot from the polka dot strip. If you want to use it as a strip again, you can always just piece it back together on your stamping block. So there's no harm done in trimming one of the dots off. And you might notice that I'm putting the dots a little bit closer together. With a smaller scale paper, you want the pattern to be a little bit closer. And then next is a pattern that I'm creating with Background Basics Super Gingham stamp set, and then I'm using the little X's from Chicken Scratch over the top. The first I'm going to stamp the Super Ginghams in Sweet Blush ink. And it's a little hard to see on camera, but it's so pretty in real life. And you'll want to repeat that all the way down the card. I'm just going to do a little portion here to show you how I do the Chicken Scratch X's over the top. Then I'm going to use Raspberry Fizz ink and Summer Sunrise ink with the little X's from Chicken Scratch. I'm just going to fill in some of those solid squares with the little X's. So I did every other block, and then I'll go back in and fill in with the Summer Sunrise. And they're quite easy to line up, as you can see here. So then you'll just continue with that pattern until you've created the whole piece of pattern paper. And next I'll show you how to do the one with the words on it. I'm using a little flag stamp from Matte Stack 4. Then I'll use some of the sayings from Matte Stack 4 and Matte Stack 2 collection stamp sets to fill in the little blank areas on the pattern paper. I'm just going to stamp the little flag stamp several times, just sort of randomly, to create this pattern paper. And I'm not trying to get them perfect again, although if I were off camera, I'd probably try to get them a little bit straighter. Then I'm just going to take some of the sayings and fill in the rest of the paper. After I have some of the words filled in, I'm going to go back in with the friend word from, let's see, that one is from Matte Stack 2 collection, and I'm going to use this one in color and just add a little bit of color randomly around the paper with the same colors that I've used in my main pattern paper, the large floral. And I always try to create a little visual triangle of each color, so I always like to stamp 3 of each, 3 greens, 3 oranges, 3 pinks, and just creates a triangle that brings your eye around the piece of paper. Phew, so we're done stamping all the pattern papers, and they look so pretty together. And I love the large floral, but I wasn't sure if I was going to use it or not, so I actually used some of the Cutting Garden dies and cut out a few of the flowers just in case I want to use them as the focal point on a card instead of using the large floral paper. Okay, so let's start creating some cards. I'm going to start with a piece of white cardstock that is A2 size for my card front, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm just going to start laying out papers and seeing how they look together. There's so many different ways you can mix and match pattern papers. You can layer them horizontally, vertically. You can do little squares of pattern papers, little punched pieces of pattern papers. Here I like how they're laid out, and I felt like I just needed a large scale mixed in with these other papers in the background. So I'm going to add my little Cutting Garden die cuts over the top. and I think that adds just a nice focal point with the large scale flowers. And even though we didn't use the large scale pattern paper that we stamped, these flowers serve as the large scale on this card, so it works out. Then I'm just adding in a few buds that I had stamped with Harvest Gold and the gray. And of course you'll trim the papers down so they fit onto your card and adhere everything down. And then I trimmed a little saying from the pattern paper that we made with the words, the text on it, and I think I will use that for my sentiment. So I'll show you the finished card at the end here. Here's another way you can use pattern papers. You can just cut strips. You can use all of the patterns in little strips. They look so cute together. I think I'm going to try these two papers with the orange on the side, and that way you see a little section of each paper. I really like how that looks. You have the large scale, the medium scale, and then the smaller scale of the plaid, which sort of reads more as a solid. Another thing you could do with the pattern papers is cut them into little shapes, like with these limitless layers dies or these framed out dies. I think several of the same shape on a card will look so cute. That's another idea if you don't want to do strips of paper. And here are the finished cards. I just love how all the patterns look together, and it creates such texture and dimension, yet it's still flat for mailing. I added a little bit of twine and some sequins. So your homework for this Make It Monday challenge will be to try to create at least 3 patterns and see how you can use them on a card. I can't wait to see what you'll make. I hope you have fun with this challenge. Thanks for watching. Bye.